You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing, daily, hopefully. Hello to the lovely but slightly mad people who listen to this absolute nonsense. It's Tuesday the 10th of September 2024 and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. Now, I haven't done any writing today, didn't expect to, so we flew overnight and I finished work at just after midday, which was fine. That was how it was scheduled. In fact, we finished slightly early. We would have finished a lot earlier, but we ended up holding at Heathrow. We were quite early because the flight time was very good, but we ended up holding at Heathrow for quite a long time. So, but that's fine. That's all good. It's one of the things that happens. Heathrow's a very busy airport, and when a lot of aeroplanes arrive at the same time, especially when you're running early, only a certain number can land at once, obviously, and we have to take our turn. Anyway, so got back to the car, drove home, and I basically slept because I've been up all night. And then I've just woken up now, and I thought, what I need to do is update the crazy people. No, I'm just not being rude. So I've not done anything. But what I was thinking yesterday, and I kind of glad I didn't talk about it in the podcast yesterday because it gives me something to talk about today. But I'm so close to the end of this writing project, or the first draft of it. It's really scary. I was thinking, chapter 36, which seems to have come together really quickly, especially because I did, that work on the aeroplane and en route. After that, I've only got 3 chapters and an epilogue to write. And in fact, only 2 of the chapters are kind of main drive focus of the story, because I've got chapter 37, which is obviously the next one I've got to write when I finish writing the current one, is got to be the big resolution of sorts. Actually, it's not quite the resolution, so chapter 37 ties up a lot of bits and pieces, but still doesn't actually resolve the fact that they haven't managed to get the Gaia creature from the tree and back into the main network, must do, mustn't it? Because of what happens in chapter 38. Sorry. So in chapter 37, they do resolve that. They do get the Gaia creature out of the isolated tree in the Arboretum and back into the general network, which finally means that the trees have agreed that the designated survivor scheme, the Yggdrasil plan, as it were, is the one that they're going to follow, which does mean at least that the goodies, my characters, and obviously a lot more than just my characters, get to survive the end of the world. Then chapter 38 is a unique little thing. I've talked to friends about it and called it the chapter of death. And it's just going to be a series of little vignettes about what happens to some of the other characters in the story, and how they die, basically, because in a world where there's no oxygen, nearly everybody in it is not going to be in it for very long. And so it's going to be quite a depressing chapter showing what happens to some of the characters. Now, there's a couple, I haven't decided exactly what all I'm going to do when I do that is I'm going to whiz through the manuscript and just decide which characters I need to follow up. Some of them are no-brainers. The acting Prime Minister, Derek Cockerell, Wright, absolutely. Lord Farnborough, absolutely. Ronnie's parents, absolutely. And there might be a couple of others, possibly I can't remember the characters' names, but the Scottish MP that is the one that the good guys kind of communicate the trees' demands to. So there's the minister in London, and they also talk to a member of the Scottish government saying what the demands are. There's a handful of characters that have appeared a little bit more often than some of the others, and I'm not going to say it'd be nice to show what happens to them because they all die, but they'll be different. Oh, and Carl Tucker, my God, I've got to show what happens to Carl Tucker, and that's going to be nice. So there's that, and then there's chapter 39, which is sort of the final, what's left of the government try to send people up to deal with Arbor Associates up in the Cairngorms, flamethrowers and stuff. They basically decide to try and burn as much of the thing down as possible. Excuse me, just having a sip. And that will be, basically they'll get defeated, and that'll be the end of the story. And then there's the epilogue. So yes, I've got chapters 37 and 39, which are the regular story to write. I've got 38, which is the chapter of death. And then I've got the epilogue, which is what happens to the characters sort of in the new world. And it's mainly going to be taken up with two sort of sequences of action. So there's Ursula returning. It's a spoiler, but hey, it's Ursula returning to her home in Sherwood Forest to die, not because she's suffocating to death like the rest of the denizens of the planet Earth. It's just purely that she's lived 400 years and she feels she's done her bit and she's tired and she just wants to go back to her own surroundings and peacefully die. And obviously some of the people go with her just to keep her company. So that's quite depressing. But that's why they're down there. But something nice happens as a result of it as well. At the same time, there will be a scene. There will be Marianne. Mackenzie will finally be released, healed from the tree, and him and Marianne get to have the conversation about what they want out of life and each other. And it's going to be quite a nice moment, because all the not prejudices. Basically, one of the reasons that Mackenzie wouldn't or didn't like the idea of being associated in romantic terms with Marianne is that being non-binary, being born male or born presenting as male, I think is what you have to say, he worried initially, well, people will think I'm gay if I'm attracted to you. And with everything else that's happened in this story, he's finally realised, you are my soulmate. None of that bloody matters, actually. And I think Marianne has realised that he wasn't being homophobic or nasty. I think he just, having a background where he's close to his family, not that they were very nice to him, but, he was just worried what everybody would say. And so there's going to be this kind of nice moment at the end where he realises that none of that matters. They're in a completely new world. There's very few people that he knows left alive. Marianne is one of them, and that he loves them. So, yeah, a bit soppy, but, some characters have got to have a happy ending, given how many are not going to have a happy ending because they're dead in the chapter of death. Anyway, I'll stop waffling now. Thank you for listening. Sorry about my jokes earlier. Really inappropriate. I'm just very tired. And I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully having written a big chunk more of chapter 36. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.